Hello, welcome to another computer science class. Today, we'll be looking at Central Processing Unit. My name is Suleiman Fatima. Before we proceed, let's look at the topic outline. The first one is Central Processing Unit. The second one is Arithmetic Logic Unit. And finally, Control Unit. Objectives of the class. At the end of this lesson, students should be able to explain the functions of Central Processing Unit, understand the use of Arithmetic Logic Unit, and finally, explain a Control Unit. Now let's start. Central Processing Unit, CPU. The purpose of the CPU is to process data. That is all the CPU does. As simple as this sounds, it is actually a complex thing. When you talk about processing of data, it is actually complex. But as computer users, we need not to worry about that because our CPU does it for us. The CPU is where processes such as calculating, sorting, and searching takes place. Whatever is done on our computers, such as checking emails, playing games, and doing homework, is processed by the CPU. When you give data to your system, the CPU is what processes that data and feeds you back with an output. All forms of processes on the computer system is done on the CPU, and that is why some people refer to the CPU as the powerhouse of the computer. The picture on the screen shows the picture of the Central Processing Unit. The first one is actually the picture of a Central Processing Unit, while the second one is the picture of a Central Processing Unit on a motherboard. Yes, the CPU is actually located on the motherboard. Let's move on. The CPU is commonly called a processor, and it is made up of three main components. Yes, we usually hear processor, processor, processor. That is an alternative name for CPU. These three main components are the control unit, the immediate access store, and lastly, the arithmetic and logic unit. Let's move on. Now let's discuss the control unit. The control unit controls the flow of data within the system. Yes, data actually follows a path within the system, and this control unit, just as the name implies, controls the flow of this data within the system. It controls and monitors communications between the hardware attached to the computer. Whatever goes on between one hardware and another hardware is being monitored and controlled by the control unit. It controls the input and output of data, checks that signals have been delivered successfully, and makes sure that data goes to the correct place at the correct time. Of course, all these are background works that are not visible to our eyes, but trust me, these guys are working behind the scene. Another part of the CPU is the immediate access store. This immediate access store is where the CPU holds all the data and programs that it is currently using. Whenever a CPU is working on a data or a program, it stores it temporarily on the immediate access store. You can think of it like the numbers typed into a calculator. They are being stored inside the calculator while it processes the calculations. The conventional calculators we use, you notice that when you press a number, a function, when you want to press another number, the previous number disappears. Not in the real sense, because it is actually stored in something we call immediate access store, which the operator acts on and gives you an output. The immediate access store is often referred to as the registers in the CPU. Now let's look at the arithmetic logic units. The arithmetic logic units, known as ALU for short, is where the CPU performs the arithmetic and logic operations. Every task that your computer carries out is completed here. The ALU's operations fall into two parts. The first one is the arithmetic part, which deals with calculations. For example, your addition, your subtraction, your multiplications are done on the arithmetic part of the ALU, while the logic part deals with any logical comparisons. That's it for the ALU. We have talked about the central processing unit. Now I'm trying to summarize what we have discussed. We talked about the central processing unit being the powerhouse of the computer system, where all forms of processes are taking place. Whatever instruction you give to your computer, it is actually the CPU that processes the computer in order for you to have an output. And the CPU is divided into three components. We have the control unit that controls and monitors everything that goes on within the system. We also have the registers that temporarily holds the data or program that the CPU is working on. And we have the arithmetic and logic unit that carries out arithmetic and logical operations. All these three are embedded on the CPU. And like I said, the CPU itself is embedded on the motherboard within the computer system. I believe you all understand what we have discussed. If you do, then my assignment. Firstly, what do you understand by central processing units? Secondly, explain the functions of arithmetic logic unit. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next class.